Good morning, one and all, and welcome. Okay, I'll take that one more time. Yay, thank you. And welcome to our worship service at the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca. Here we gather, nurturing our connections, seeking inspiration, and embracing change. I'm Rita Rosenberg-Barber, and I am honored to be your celebration associate this morning. Thank you so much for joining us, those of you who are here in person, and those of you who are Zooming in. It just feels so good to be together on this balmy winter morning. And I say that because as Don and I were driving in from Caroline this morning, he reminded me that it is 35 degrees warmer than it was yesterday morning. So please do check our website for more information about how to create connections. If you'd like to receive updates describing opportunities for engagement, please email a request to office@uuithaca.org. Newcomers are especially invited to visit our website and complete a newcomers form on the homepage. Our service is being live streamed from our beautiful sanctuary in lovely downtown Ithaca and will be available for later viewing as well on our YouTube channel. And please do join us after the service in the parlor for some distant socializing. Okay, and now I have two announcements. One is from Emily, a reminder that the Stuffy sleepover is next Saturday, so all of you get that on your calendar. I'm not sure what that will entail, but it sounds like fun. And I also have an announcement from Don Barber with an update from the Board of Trustees.
So I'll try Rita's move. Good morning.
Good morning.
God, it works. It's great. So for those of you that haven't been in the sanctuary, it brings back such comforting emotions. So I hope that all of you out there will try it. It's so refreshing to see my friends' faces, and you share a smile and then chat for just a few minutes as you pass each other. It's just a great feeling. And I want to thank the Way Forward team for their collective efforts in finding ways that we can congregate while keeping us safe. So thank you to that team. And it's especially great to see so many of you, my friends back in the sanctuary, and the Quagliada family as well, to be here. So I want to give you a brief update of what your leadership has been up to. I serve with 9 other congregants as trustees and treasurer on the board. And when we started in July, we knew that we needed to grab a hold of the rudder without Reverend Margaret here. And so one of our first tasks was to develop a statement of what had happened and where we were going, which we did, and we shared with you, Therese O'Connor and I, back in September. We knew this was going to be a big transition without Reverend Margaret's steady hand. And we also knew that we needed to understand partnership governments and how we would work with an interim minister. So I want to acknowledge the nominations committee for their work in board trainings to help us get organized for this upcoming year. As you all know, the transition with Reverend Tony didn't go as smoothly as we had hoped. And after a couple months of trying, we mutually agreed that we should part ways. And Valerie Graves delivered a statement to all of you talking about transition back in early November. So now the rudder for FUSIT was firmly in the board's hands, nervous as we were to have it in our hands. So we began developing a working relationship with staff that appears to be supportive at this time. Emily's saying so as well, so thank you. But I do know that the board deeply appreciates that what the staff has done to hold things together during this transition after transition. So I want to share with you what's coming up in the coming months. The board has a role of setting the direction for the church. And we are asking open questions of the congregation to help us set that direction. So in October, we asked the question of how we should be connecting during the pandemic. We've received many comments, which we've tallied, and they've been very instructive. And I want you to know that we have been listening and that we will be sharing a summary of those comments probably within this week. So you'll see what you shared and what we have learned. Not to work off that great process, we are now going to be asking you a second open question. And this is, given our history and our hopes for the future, what is the purpose of FUSIT in 2022 and beyond? So we're looking for your feedback as well to help us set direction. But the board has yet one other task, and it's a major focus, trying to set a pathway for minister support going forward. To inform our thinking, FUSIT's history buff, also treasurer Walt Peck, is going to provide us with a summary of the history from 1865 to 1917 within the coming week and a half. So this will give us a way to appreciate the path that we have followed to get to where we are today. The board has also had a Zoom conference meeting with Reverend Keith Cron, who addressed us last Sunday, and who's also in charge of minister placement at the UUA. So he talked to us about the state of liberal religions in general, Unitarian Universalist churches specifically, and also shared with us the stresses that ministers and congregations are feeling. It turned out this past fall that 27 congregations ended their relationship with their minister. So something's going on out there, and this is a great opportunity for us to learn about it, and we will be sharing that Zoom conference video with the congregation around the same time as Walt shares his history lesson for us. So this is all part of helping the congregation and the board get an appreciation for an understanding about how we might go ahead, and we don't know, so we want to learn about this collectively. So we will, after this information has been shared with you, be holding congregational conversations, several of them, probably from mid-February through mid-March, to give the congregants an opportunity to share with us their dreams and their hopes and how they think we should be moving ahead. So that's a quick summary of what we're up to and what we plan to do in the coming month. I hope that we deserve your trust and confidence, and if we don't, please tell us, because that's our goal. We want to hear your voice and learn from your experience of how to manage the rudder in steering this society going forward. So our communication channels to you are the weekly announcements and the monthly newsletter, and your communication to us is through the board at UU Ithaca email, or call us or see us at church. There are many trustees attending each Sunday. And finally, I want to announce that in a push for transparency, the board is sharing with the congregation our consent agenda for each board meeting. And you can find that on the Zoom link at the weekly announcements, so you can click on that, see the resolutions we're talking about and the background information, and also the reports from all the teams and committee and staff, so you can have appreciation for how we're moving forward. So thank you for listening to this announcement, and look forward to speaking with you after church.
So I want to thank Don and the board members for their incredible leadership dedication and commitment to this congregation. Okay, onward. It is with great pleasure that I welcome Andrew Quagliada as our guest speaker this fine morning. Andrew joined the First Unitarian Society of Ithaca in 2013. During this time, he has served on the membership, religious education, and celebration teams. Also, he has been a facilitator for small group ministry for 7 years, including weekly meetings for a long stretch early in the pandemic. Today will be his 7th time delivering a Sunday sermon at FUSIT. So I thank you, Andrew. So now for the chalice lighting. I want to invite two of my very best friends, Sloan and Grace, to come up and help me. And your part will be to join me in saying the chalice lighting words in the order of service. Are we ready? We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action. Thank you.
Good morning. Our opening words this morning come from Vanessa Southern. It's titled, "Even This Is Enough." So much undone, so much to do, so much to heal in us and the world. So much to acquire: a meal, a healthy body, a fit one, a lover, a job, a better job, proof we have and are enough. Just around the corner now. And up against it, the reality of all that falls short and the limits of today. We honor the limits. If your body won't do what it used to do, for right now, let it be enough. If your mind won't stop racing or can't think of the word, let it be enough. If you are here utterly alone and in despair, be all that here with us. If today you cannot sing because your throat hurts or you don't have the heart for music, be silent. When the offering plate goes around, if you don't have money to give or the heart to give, let it pass. The world won't stop spinning on her axis if you don't rise to all occasions today. Love won't cease to flow in your direction. Your heart won't stop beating. And all hope won't be lost. You are part of the plan for this world's salvation. Of that I have no doubt. The world needs its oceans of people striving to be good, to carry us to the shores of hope and wash fear from the beachheads, and cleanse all wounds so they can heal. But oceans are big, and I'm sure there are parts that don't feel up to the task of the whole some days. Rest if you must, like the swimmer lying on her back who floats, or the hawk carried on cushions of air. Rest in pews made to hold weary lives, in space carved out for the doing of nothing much but being. Perhaps then you will feel in your bones, in your weary heart, the aching, healing sense that this is enough. Even this, that we are enough. You are enough. Enough.
I would like to invite you now to join me in body or spirit for hymn number 118, This Little Light of Mine. I'm going to do some sign language up here if you'd like to join me with that as well. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We're gonna do Everywhere I Go, Little Houses. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. We're gonna build up a world. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Building up a world, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Good morning, friends. It is so lovely to see your faces here this morning, and I appreciate everyone who is at home who is also chosen to join us. My wonderful colleague Stephanie has agreed to help me out this morning as we continue to talk about living with intention. She brought in something special that was a little too big for the Wonder Box, so she's gonna go and get it from the back right now.
I was so excited to show you this plate that I was going to bring this morning, but on the way over here, it broke. Will you help me fix it?
I didn't break it.
I know you didn't break it, but it needs to get fixed. It means a lot to me.
You mean you want me to help you fix it, even though I didn't break it? I just need you to understand that I'm not the kind of person that breaks things. So I'm going to pause for a moment here, and I'm going to ask for your help here in the sanctuary. I'm going to need maybe 7 or 8 volunteers this morning. So I'm going to raise my hand up like this, and when I do, I'm going to ask that when you feel so moved, one at a time, you stand up and say the words out loud in this space, "This is broken. Will you help me fix it?" So once you're done, I'm going to respond. You can sit back down, and I will raise my hand again and call the next volunteer. All right. Just go ahead and stand up and shout out the words, "This is broken, will you help me fix it?" This is broken, will you help me fix it? No, that plate doesn't look broken to me. What are you talking about? That plate isn't broken. You're wrong, and I'm not going to listen to you. The plate isn't broken, and even if it was, I'm not the one who broke it, so I'm not responsible for helping to fix it. This plate is very broken. Please help us fix it. I'm really disappointed that you broke that plate. I thought you were better than that. Why did you wait so long to tell me that the plate was broken? If you had told me right away, maybe we could have done something about it. I didn't break the plate, so why should I be responsible for helping to fix it? This is obviously your problem, not mine. Go ahead. The plate's already broken, so why even mention it? There's nothing we can do about it. It's always going to be this way. Stephanie, would you please ask me again?
This plate is broken. Will you help me fix it?
The plate is broken? I'm so sorry. I really appreciate you letting me know. I see that this plate means a lot to you. How can we work together to fix it? Thank you so much for helping me today, Stephanie. Sometimes, when we are building community together, it's important to listen to what others have to say, even if we might not want to hear it at first. But we do that because it's a part of our covenant, our promise to each other. There are times when we need to hear news or feedback that causes us discomfort, but in hearing it and responding to it constructively with curiosity and humility, we can more easily go about building beloved community. This is especially true when it comes to feedback about how cultural privilege along race, gender identity, disability, sexual orientation, class, and more impacts others. This is also true in our personal relationships with one another. When we tell one another that something has been broken, there are so many different ways that we can respond. We can refuse to admit that something is broken. We can deny that we have any part in that brokenness, even when most often the truth is that that responsibility is shared. We can blame the other person and refuse to take responsibility. And I'm just going to take a guess here, but I can imagine that those of you who volunteered to stand up today and tell me that something was broken and ask me to help you fix it, maybe didn't really want to after hearing my first couple of responses. Because when we reach out and ask for help, we are opening ourselves up in vulnerability to one another. And I'm sure that we have all experienced some variation of this situation where we reached out for help or to try to let someone know how we have been hurt by their words or actions, and we are met with denial or more harm. What if, instead, we could respond with gratitude? We could use that brokenness as an opportunity to strengthen our relationships. I do actually have something in my Wonder Box today. It's a picture. This is an image of a bowl that was repaired using kintsugi. Kintsugi is an ancient Japanese art of repairing broken pottery and ceramics. Gold is used to highlight the beauty of the imperfections that remain when a broken item has been repaired. Instead of hiding the broken parts, gold is used to remind the user over and over that something once broken is whole again, and it has a different kind of beauty. And in a way, that's what happens when other things break too, like relationships, friendships. Sometimes we hurt each other's feelings, and it's like the thread between two or more people breaks. But as Unitarian Universalists, we don't ignore it. We try to rebuild the relationship so that it's stronger and more beautiful than it was before. The work of healing is all of our jobs, no matter how big or small. And when we repair our mistakes with love and come back together again in covenant, we remember that our relationships are more beautiful once we have acknowledged hurt asked for forgiveness, corrected our mistakes, and made a sacred promise to do better in the future.
Good morning. In the spirit of reverence, love, and care, we take time now to bear witness to some of the joys and sorrows of our community. We want to share those events that call for our prayers and support, our praise and celebration. From Joanne, a joy and a sorrow. That a great spiritual leader, Thich Nhat Hanh, has transitioned from his life. His teachings touched millions. May we honor his memory by living in love and compassion. For those we are holding in our thoughts, in our hearts, and perhaps in our prayers, let us call these names out loud into this community, into the space of healing and hope right now. We extend loving kindness to all in our world, and let us not forget to extend loving kindness to ourselves. Today, tomorrow, and beyond, may our hands be outstretched in kindness. And let us keep showing up to our lives and each other with an open heart, no matter what. Love and courage to us all. Blessed be, and amen.
Nice to have all these faces and people in this space and sit quietly together. Often when we are all together, especially now when we don't see as many people as we used to, it's, we feel like we have to say something all the time. But sometimes it's just nice to sit in silence. For our meditation hymn this month, we've been singing Slow Down by Heather Pearson. We're going to sing many repetitions, so let it sink into your bones. Slow down, recharge, take a breath, and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath, and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath, and remember who you are. Slow down, recharge, take a breath, and remember who you are. Slow down.
Slow down.
Recharge.
Recharge.
Take a breath and remember who you are. a breath and remember who you are. Slow down.
Slow down.
Recharge. Take a breath and remember who you are.
Thank you, Stephanie, and thank you, Emily. That was beautiful. And the story was amazing. Good reminder. Each week, we take an offering to sustain the important ministries and programs of this congregation and its significant presence in Ithaca. The giving information is shown in the order of service. For those watching remotely, the text number and website will appear on your screen during the offertory music and in the information below the live stream image on the YouTube. Giving to the plate is a symbol of our gratitude for this service and our ongoing commitment to the support of the work of this church. So please take a moment and give through either the text option or the giving button on our church website. If you are attending in person, you can place your offering in the box that is by the door when you exit after the service. Thank you very much. Please join me in saying the offertory words in your order of service. May these gifts bring about connection, inspiration, and engagement within these walls and beyond.
Our reading this morning is titled The Blizzard of the World from A Hidden Wholeness by Parker J. Palmer. There was a time when farmers on the Great Plains, at the first sign of a blizzard, would run a rope from the back door of their house out to the barn. They all knew stories of people who'd wandered off and been frozen to death, having lost sight of home in a whiteout while still in their own backyards. Today, we live in a blizzard of another sort. It swirls around us as economic injustice, ecological ruin, physical and spiritual violence, and their inevitable outcome, war. It swirls within us as fear and frenzy, greed and deceit, and indifference to the suffering of others. We all know stories of people who have wandered off into this madness and been separated from their own souls, losing their moral bearings and even their mortal lives. They make headlines because they take so many innocents down with them. The lost ones come from every walk of life: clergy and corporate executives, politicians and people on the street, celebrities and school children. Some of us fear that we or those we love will become lost in that storm. Some of us are lost at this moment and trying to find our way home. Some of us are lost without knowing it. And some of us are using the blizzard as cover while cynically exploiting its chaos for private gain. So it's easy to believe that the poets claim that the blizzard of the world has overturned the order of the soul. Easy to believe that the soul, that life-giving core of the human self, with its hunger for truth and justice, love and forgiveness, has lost all power to guide our lives. But my own experience of the blizzard, which includes getting lost in it more often than I'd like to admit, tells me it's not so. The soul's order can never be destroyed. It may be obscured by the whiteout. We may forget or deny that its guidance is close at hand, and yet we are still in the soul's backyard, with chance after chance to regain our bearings. I grew up in a house with 2 parents, 2 kids, and 2 dogs in the 1980s. We had a small black and white TV with an antenna in our dining area off the kitchen. The only time we watched TV during dinner was when something my mother deemed very important was going on. So Peter Jennings narrated the NASA Space Shuttle Challenger explosion and the fall of the Berlin Wall. We ate dinner together every night. Not only that, we did a few things that I later realized was a little less common. We shared stories about our day. We asked each other questions. We listened to each other. During those meals, I could share my true thoughts without judgment and feel heard. As I ventured into the world, I found that experience of sharing stories, asking questions, and listening with intention missing from my lived experiences. Sure, plenty of people were talking. Some asked questions, and I've known some very good listeners. But consistently finding experiences with all 3 were not the norm. Since realizing that I crave spaces with deep connections, I've been in search to find them or create my own. That search led me back to the UU faith that I was introduced to as an adolescent and has kept me connected to this faith community for almost 10 years. Today, I'll share a bit more about why spaces like this matter, their unique characteristics, and a few ways you can experience them in your own life. Let's use our time together this morning to take a break from analyzing the brokenness of the world and instead look within. I won't suggest we're all broken, but in some way we all live in what Parker Palmer calls a divided life. My remarks today are drawn heavily from his work, A Hidden Wholeness, The Journey Toward an Undivided Life. Are you the same person on the inside as you seem to be on the outside? Palmer suggests we begin to separate from our inner lives when we are young. We begin to shield our inner vulnerabilities from threats of the world. As children, we processed this divide through imaginary play. But as we get older, Parker says, we lose touch with our souls. You might know the soul by other names: true self, original nature, inner light, or identity. We experience this divided life or a lack of wholeness differently. Some of us may feel like something is missing in our lives. And some of us feel fraudulent, even invisible. Some of us find it difficult to be our authentic selves. And others, through our work, deprive ourselves of our true calling. The masks we wear can keep our inner light from illuminating the world. They can keep the light of the world from shining on us, and they can hurt our relationships with those closest to us. When others sense a lack of congruency in us, they feel unsafe. They don't seek to connect. They take fewer risks. They withhold their gifts, and the world suffers. Like most children, I recall wearing my heart on my sleeve when I was a child, but somewhere along the way, I began to share my heart less and less. I'm not sure how or when this happened, but I do know that expressing less love and kindness isn't good for anyone. None of us are immune. The student who's studying marketing to appease her parents, but who at some level longs to be pursuing a career that allows her to serve others in a meaningful way. The corporate executive who understands the threat of climate change, but who works for a company with a terrible track record of contributing to global carbon emissions. The person in a long-term marriage who feels like they've been playing a part meant for someone else. Palmer says the divided life is a wounded life, and the soul keeps calling us to heal the wound. Ignore the call, and we find ourselves trying to numb our pain with an anesthetic of choice, be it substance abuse, overwork, consumerism, or mindless media noise. If Palmer wrote the book today, he might mention social media by name. Palmer goes on to say, we try to fill the inner void with competitive success or anything that might give us the illusion of being better than others. Putting others down becomes a path to identity, a path we would not need to walk if we knew who we were. Are you aware of your dividedness? Are you listening to your inner teacher? Are you trying to bring your inner and outer world into harmony? It's not easy. We can deny and equivocate. We can be scared or cowardly. We can let greed win. So much keeps us from paying attention to our true self that we can end up living disconnected from our true self. In our reading this morning, we heard about the farmers on the Great Plains who, at the first sign of blizzard, would run a rope from the back door of their house out to the barn to keep from wandering off and freezing to death. That rope was their lifeline. We are in a different type of storm today, and we need that rope. Are you holding on tightly? Are you losing your grip? Or worse, are you lost in the storm searching for that rope to lead you home? One of the reasons this faith community is so important to us is that it helps us identify what matters most and stay true to our values when braving the reality of the world around us. The work we do here has the potential to transform our lives and the organizations we belong to beyond these walls. Perhaps realizing that you can't do it on your own, or feeling that the crowd is moving in a direction you don't like, led you to this religious community. Perhaps you're searching for a different way, Might I suggest we're all looking for spaces where we can better understand ourselves in community with others. What are the characteristics of spaces that help us find our way? They're spaces where we can experience solitude and community at the same time. A better portion of A Hidden Wholeness describes a space where we can have solitude and community simultaneously. Circles of trust. These are much like what you call small groups. These are spaces protected with ground rules. We practice deep listening, offering each other to share without interruption. We honor the rule of no fixing, no saving, no advising, and no setting each other straight. We speak for ourselves and offer reactions rooted in gratitude. We offer each other the healing and empowering gifts of silence and laughter. As someone who's participated in a small group for many years, I like to refer to my group as a listening circle. First, we listen to each other and we listen to our deepest selves. Let's explore this idea of solitude and community a bit more. Solitude isn't walking alone in the woods. Palmer clarifies, it's not about the absence of other people, it's about being fully present to ourselves. Small groups provide us a chance to listen to our souls and discern our own truth. A foundational principle of small groups is that we all have an inner teacher. We need to create space to listen. Reverend Scott Taylor, who created Soul Matters, a small group curriculum used by First Unitarian and almost 150 other congregations, writes, "We talk about being a people of faith, not just a person of faith. Because for us, spirituality is not a solo journey. It's something that emerges in the context of a covenanted community. We hold each other accountable. We offer each other the gift of deep listening. We share our various perspectives so all of us can see the greater whole. Through this, we grow. Through others, we become ourselves. The principles and practices we follow in small group make it safe for the soul to show up and offer us its guidance. This is a special kind of community we're talking about." Palmer writes, "Unfortunately, community in our culture too often means a group of people who go crashing through the woods together, scaring the soul away. We're experienced at creating spaces for intellect in our universities, for shared efforts in our task forces and committees, for our ego on social media. But we know less about creating spaces for wholeness. We are safe in a world of ideas, but a listening circle is more about telling the stories of our hearts. It's about the universal truths that unite us. For those who have not experienced the counterculture nature of a small group, I'd like to share an example of what can happen when we are in a community of solitude where we can be alone together. I'm a member of a circle of trust that meets monthly at Cornell. And a few years ago, I was sharing about how much effort I put into being the best teacher I can be. And then I said, I wonder what it would look like if I put that kind of effort into being a father. I had never thought that thought before. Yet in this moment, space was created so I could listen to my deepest self, and I felt safe. And then I said, I want to be a better father. I was a bit surprised by my own words. Family's always been important to me, but at some level I knew I wasn't living up to my own expectations. I found it easier to immerse myself in my work than develop a deeper connection with my two wonderful children. The space gave me, that circle gave me the space to listen to my inner teacher and touch a deeper truth than I could have on my own. We can't do it alone. It's too hard. We need to discern with others to help us find the courage. A strong community helps people develop a sense of true self, for only in community can the self exercise and fulfill its nature, giving and talking, listening and speaking, being and doing, says Palmer. He continues, and this point feels particularly relevant. But when community unravels and we lose touch with one another, the self atrophies and we lose touch with ourselves as well. The risk of unraveling and atrophy was great 2 years ago. It became greater last year, and it's something we'll have to be intentional about overcoming in the year ahead. The experience of being in a small group is unlike any other experience. We begin not by asking, "How are you?" but instead responding, "How is it with your spirit?" This invites us to share on a deeper level. We practice listening with intention. We share our journey with the spiritual exercises that challenge us to see how the monthly theme is present in our own lives. Then we reflect on what's been shared by lifting up forgotten wisdom or a forgotten memory that came to us while listening to other people share. We share our journey with the questions related to each month's theme. We then ask, how did listening to everyone else's story help you see or learn something new about your own story? The sharing that happens is not what we think, but rather where the experience took us. We close by expressing gratitude for one person in the circle. We name the person, what they said, and how it spoke to us. For those of you in a small group, and I know there's many of you out there that are in one, I hope my words affirm your experience. And for those of you who have not yet found a group, I hope my words have piqued your interest in joining one. However, we don't need an official small group to benefit from the principles and practices of these groups. With intention, you can begin your journey toward an undivided life, and I'll share 3 quick examples from my own life. First, every Saturday night, my wife and I enjoy dinner together while our daughters watch a movie. We share our experience with the activities in the Soul Matters packet, and we reflect on the questions. We practice deep listening to each other and to our inner teachers. Second, last year I reached out to a friend who I lost connection with after I moved to Ithaca. We reconnected on Zoom and met once a week for an hour for what I would say was a small group of 2. We used Parker Palmer's book to guide our sharing. And third, and I'll acknowledge that this example takes a little bit more effort, last year I reached out to 5 people in my life who I admire, and I asked if they'd like to meet once a month to take a break from their regular routine, listen to others and ourselves, and build community. I also said that no preparation was required, and I think that was a big part of the sell. For our meetings, I share one reading and a few reflection questions. We then take turns sharing what feelings arise, memories the reading stirs, or what message it has in it for us. The interesting thing about all these experiences is that prior to them, I often feel like I don't have time to stop and listen to myself and others. But the truth is, almost nothing is more important than the time I spend in a circle and afterward. I'm always happy I made the choice to stop and listen. Experiences like these can help us strive toward living an undivided life and empower us to live our values beyond these circles. Palmer writes, when we are rooted in true self, we can act in ways that are life-giving for us and all whose lives we touch. There's no better time than now to seek congruence between our inner and our outer selves. May you find space that welcomes your soul. May you trust your inner teacher when it presents itself to you. May you trust others to share your journey with. May you let the experience guide you in finding inner wholeness. And may you harness your wisdom and use it for good in the world.
I would like to invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our closing hymn, number 95, There Is More Love Somewhere. There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. Thank you.
Our closing words come from Elizabeth Kubler-Ross. There is no need to be afraid of death. It is not the end of the physical body that should worry us. Rather, our concern must be to live while we're alive, to release our inner selves from the spiritual death that comes from living behind a facade designed to comfort to external definitions of who and what we are. Every individual human being born on this earth has the capacity to become a unique and special person, unlike any person who's ever existed before or will again. When you live as if you'll live forever, it becomes too easy to postpone the thing you know you must do. You live your life in preparation for tomorrow or in remembrance of yesterday, and meanwhile, each day is lost. In contrast, when you fully understand that each day you awaken could be the last you have, you take the time that day to grow, to become more of who you really are, and to reach out to other human beings. Thank you.
We will now take off the mask and extinguish the chalice. As we extinguish the chalice, we gather the warmth of love, the light of truth, and the energy of action into our hearts and carry it forward into the dawning day. Go now in peace.